Welcome back to the channel, guys. Well, we're going to get a little bit more progress done on the front end of this thing today, so stay tuned and check it out. What we're going to be doing today is welding up this front inner volant section here. So you can see I've gone and put a whole lot of holes in it, and we're just going to plug weld. There's a couple of dodgy spots here, but you know, doesn't really matter too much. But yeah, we're going to get that welded up and then just start to nip up all the pillars and the inner braces. Basically, I haven't done anything yet to it because I just wanted to make sure all these door gaps were right, and I've got it all still clamped off hard up against the top, because I know what's going to happen as soon as we release everything. The door's going to want to drop a little bit, so, and that's why there's still quite a bit of a gap here. And even though the swage line lines up perfectly there, I'm anticipating it will drop, and they just do. I mean, once you put the rubbers in them and you go and push on them, they come down a couple of millimeters. So I've tensioned them up as high as they go, just for that anticipation of them dropping. So hopefully they'll drop and they'll be absolutely bang on. If not, it's going to be modifying the hinges to fine tune them. So really, the floor's in, not welded in, but I've got it in position, and it's where it needs to go. So fingers crossed, everything is going to go okay. So first things first is we'll just get that inner section welded, and then we can take off that outer green skin and then weld in the supports, and then we can just start hammer and tong, start welding all of it up. The last two things I'll put in will be the side dog leg skins, and we can fit them into position where they need to go to make the gap look nice. So all that said, let's start welding. Oh, one more thing that I have done as well is it is actually on the jacks. I'm not supporting it off the middle of the chassis because I want to simulate it being on the front beam, resting on its own weight front and back, so that, you know, if there's any chassis flex at all, that's going to be replicated once the front beam and it's on its wheels and it's on the ground, so we're not getting that little bit of movement where then things don't line up with the welding. So that's what I've done there. I've just rested it on the spot there. I mean, I did test it anyway when I dropped it off the hoist, and it didn't move at all, so it's probably just being safer than sorry. Okay. Okay, so the next job is to weld on these side supports, and you can see there I've just copper sprayed both sides and put some holes to plug weld. That one's going to go in like so, and we'll just clamp that into position and then we can weld it. Okay, so that one's done. We'll give that a flat back with the sander or linisher, and move on to the other side. So you can see it really does tie in all the lower front A-pillar and the front valance. It just gets that whole corner super strong, and that's obviously, you know, riding off the hinge here for the bottom part of the door. So all good. All right, let's get the other side welded in. Okay, so we're all welded up and I've put a coat of primer on it, and yeah, we're pretty much ready to add the outer lower apron skin, and we can get that welded into position. And then the last part, I suppose, will be the nose, which I'll have to prepare and get that ready. But what I've done here, you can see I've just put a bit of copper spray on the outside where we're going to be welding and covered the inside of it like so. And then that's all our little 1,000,001 plug welds that we've got to do. So that we will tack, we'll clamp into position now. Might even put a couple of Tech screws in it just to hold it, and we can seal that up. So that's the next job. One piece of tack front nose cone done. Now the only issues we've got now is this little section here has to get tucked into there, and you got to kind of push it in. It's always a bit of a problematic area with all of them. They always seem like they're too long. Sometimes I have had to trim them back a bit, so I don't know what the deal is. Again, probably two aftermarket companies not talking to each other again in terms of specs, but because the floor dictates to where the pillars have to be, but then you put the outer skin on and you can see that that doesn't line up. So that's going to take a bit of modifying on that side, and I think on the other side as well. I think, yeah, you can see here this one's quite a way out. Not good, but that's just part of it, you know. They never fit perfectly, and of course people bitch and moan about it and say, oh, the aftermarket panels. It's like, you have to make them fit. They're not going to just be millimeter perfect every time. Sometimes you luck out, other times you got to chop sections of it out, you know, like just to get them to fit. So it's just the, you know, just that repo panels, you know, door skins are the same. They never fit perfect. You've got to work with them. All right, let's get these corners sorted out. I think I'm going to actually have to take the doors off now, because the nose cone has to come in and then tuck around behind the hinge here. That's how it gets folded over. So doors will have to come off so that we can actually get the front on. But I'll get this, put some Fahrenheit on these tack welds and then put a bit of primer on it, because obviously the nose cone is going to go on there, and we'll seal that up for good. So yeah, keep going. Okay, so we've got the front pretty much ready. I've tucked in the corners there, and just given it another coat of primer. Tuck the corner in here as well, so that's all done. So basically what happens now is you've got the nose cone, and the corner little flap just there gets bent over this section here and just flaps over. You've got to tap it around, but you know, that's pretty much where it needs to be. So I'm not going to put the nose on just yet. That's going to be the last thing I do, because we're going to do the floor now, and we're going to actually weld the floor from inside. So we're going to use these little holes in here and just plug weld through, so that we don't actually have to go and do weld from this side and then end up coming back in here with a grinder and trying to smooth it all off and make, you know, it's just a little bit more difficult. So there's a few holes in the floor on this one too. Lock along there, and they'll just get plug welded down to the chassis rails, and we'll go from there. So next thing is the floor. So it's in position. We're going to just start plugging up these little welds here. Plug all those up, plug all the way along here, middle, down the side there. And then we're going to come and hit this side from the other side, from inside the nose cone. I've got some holes in there, and yeah, that'll be the floor welded in. So let's get her done. All right, so we're almost ready to start welding the front lip of the floor. And you can see what I've done here is I've just used a jack to put some pre-tension on the doors, and I've actually got them going up above where they need to go because I'm anticipating that they're going to drop, and they should drop exactly to the right spot. Fingers crossed. And we've done it on both sides. So pre-tensioned that one there as well, just using a jack. And now what we're going to do now is start getting into the front here and start plugging up all these holes that go up all the way along there. So let's see how we go. Bit of an experiment. Okay, job done. Now we're going to move on to undoing all the braces, and let's see what the final verdict is. Okay, so after the floor was welded in, we had some success with the doors. They actually line up pretty good. Open, shut, without any problems. So now what we need to do is get these dog legs, I've primed them just on the inside because it's a double layer or a double piece. You can see here they look very cool when they're in copper, don't they? That's the outer skin, and then you've got your inner skin, which kind of goes in like that, but we've got to get those all welded together. So we are going to use our little special tool to hole punch and plug weld, because I don't actually have my spot welder here, or Paul's spot welder I should say, not mine. Anyway, yeah, so we'll get that, use this little guy here and punch some holes into it. Let's have a go. Okay, so we can get these two welded together. Righto guys, so I've got the dog leg tacked into position. I've done a couple of welds. I thought I'd pressed record, but I didn't. Anyway, this is what's happened so far. So we've got obviously the join where I've added the piece. Still haven't attached that section there yet, so that's got to be done. And then a little bit of a fine tune here because the radius wasn't quite right to match the door. I suspect probably just it had a slight buckle in it, so I've just gave it a little relief cut, re-welded it, and then got the shape back in here. Yeah, it's getting there. Look, it's still a lot of fan dangling to get things to work. I'll show you what it looks like with the door shut on top of my head. So you can see there's still a little bit of a gap. It's not too bad. We just need to close this section here up a little bit more, probably 2 mil. And then that bottom section there needs to just come down slightly. So yeah, a little bit of fan dangling. So we'll have a bit more of a play around. I'll just finalise that section over here and get all those little spots welded in, and then we can move on to the other side. So let's go to the other side and get this lower dog leg welded into position. Let's have a look and see what we're doing here. Okay, so you can see I've just cut this section here off, and here's our dog leg. I've already gone and welded that all together. Didn't want to bore you guys with the same details as the other side, but you can see there I've got to just make a cut across there. That's just a loose one, and then we'll retrim it again a little bit further. But that's where it's going to go. So let's get that chopped quickly, and we'll try and get the fitment in where it needs to go. We've still got to take a bit more out. We've got to come up higher. Righto, so we have just got a couple of tacks, just 2 tacks here, just to hold this, and it is just swinging. I'm just trying to get this gap a little bit nicer, because you can see here it just falls away a little bit, and obviously we've got a bit of a gap there, so I can pull this up a little bit more. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be pretty close. If I get it to about there, I think that's not bad. That's pretty good there. So we've just got to try and tack it. I mean, it's got a fairly tight gap all the way around it. So this might have to just be bent down slightly just in that spot there. Really just trying to get it close. I mean, it's not going to be perfect. We've got, you know, doors off another car. We've got roofs that have been cut off it. We're going for closeness, not perfection, unfortunately. But I am going to try for perfection. So anyway, I reckon just a tiny bit less than that, and we should be in the ballpark. All right, let's see if I can put a tack on the end here, try and get those 2 surfaces to line up because they're a bit out, and then we'll see how we go. And that's pretty good there, so let's try this. What we'll do now, chop this and bring this down slightly. You reckon about there? Looks pretty good to me. I think that's going to be a winner chicken dinner. That's close enough. A little bit of fandangling later on, but I think we are in the ballpark here. So what I might do is just double check, or open the door quickly and just double check the inside. I know the floor's got to slightly come down to get that tacked in position. I reckon that is going to be good. I think everything else out here too is nice and flush. Yep, we'll get all that welded in. Well, I think it is cappuccino time, guys, and I think I will weld this up another day. I will catch you guys in the next episode because I've had enough. I'm going inside, it's too hot. And yeah, catch you guys later.